There's nothing more frustrating than waiting around for a lengthy render, only to find that when you play back the finished movie, that you've unfortunately overlooked a thing or two that then require you to go back into your file and make a correction. Something in your scene is moving too fast or too slow, or maybe you've got a light that's coming on at the wrong time. There's all kinds of things that you might find to have been wrong, or that you somehow mistakenly overlooked once you finally get down to taking a few pictures. Luckily, 3ds Max offers you a very helpful way of previewing the animation in a scene before things go out for final render. This video will show you how to set that preview process up. I'm going to be using a file named Create Preview. You can find it in the Working Files folder. In playing back the animation, you'll see that we've got 250 frames of action that might need a little tweaking before committing to the actual final render. In order to have something that we can more closely evaluate, let's make a preview of our scene. You can do that by going to the Tools pull-down menu on the upper left-hand side of the interface. From there, you'll choose the command Views, Grab Viewport, then Create Animated Sequence File. Okay, what do we have in the settings that'll be important to control? Up in the upper left-hand corner of the dialog, you've got your preview range, which can be used to determine just how many frames you use in your preview. You can do the entire animation by using the Active Time Segment option, or you can opt to review just a certain area of your timeline, or a certain sequence of frames, which would be done entering the number you wanted or needed in the Custom Range field. In the Image section, you can determine your output size, the resolution of your preview being shown just below that value. Over in the Display Filter section, you can determine just exactly what does and doesn't show up in the preview. Probably the handiest setting in the controls is the Visual Style section about halfway down. This allows you to adjust the level of detail that'll display in the preview, giving you as much or as little detail as you need in evaluating what needs to be evaluated. If all you're worried about is the timing in your scene, for an example, you can usually bump things down to maybe wireframe or even bounding box, and still get the details you need out of what's created. Just know that the higher up the list you need to go in generating your preview, the longer the calculation will take in order to create the results that you'll then have the opportunity to look at. Let's do this. In the Preview Range category at the top, we'll set a custom range, choosing to run a preview between frames 50 and frames 170. In the Image Size category, percent of output, let's take that to 50%. And for our Visual Style, we'll set that to wireframe. When we have the settings that we'd like to use for our preview, down in the bottom right corner, we'll click on Create. Once the creating process is completed, the Windows Media Player will open and automatically play back our preview. Now, if we want to make any further adjustments, we can simply close the window and reopen our control box. This time, let's take our preview range to the Active Time segment. This will generate a preview going over the entire length of our timeline. Let's also take our percentage of output under Image Size to 75%. And for the rendering level under Visual Style, we'll set things to pastel. Let's go ahead and create another preview. Now, the preview will take just a little bit of time to generate, but have some patience. It's certainly much quicker than having to go through a complete render. Once the preview starts, it'll give us an opportunity to get a much more accurate look at the timing within our animation. Now, if you've already created a preview and you'd like to simply see it over again, there's a command for that too. Back under the Tools menu, we'll again choose Views, Grab Viewport. Then this time in the side menu, choose View Animated Sequence File. The preview plays back again on the screen, this time though not having to be recreated in order to do so. If you ever decided that you wanted to save a preview, that too can be done. Going back to the Tools pull-down menu, we'll this time choose Views, Grab Viewport, Rename Animated Sequence File. This takes you to the Previews folder of your current project. The preview is currently named _scene. We'll change that, navigating to Chapter 15 in the Working Files folder and renaming the file Logo Preview. Once we've done that, we'll then have a saved file that we can review over and over again. If you're working in a project where you've animated materials, those too can be previewed. Let's open up the material editor by typing M on our keyboard. The sample slot that you see in the lower right-hand corner has had the material animated going from red to green to blue. You can see that by scrubbing the timeline back and forth. To create a preview of that animated material, we'll head over to the icons located vertically on the right-hand side of the sample slots. We'll head to the sixth one down. It looks like a film strip and is named Make Preview. Let's go ahead and click on that button, then accept the settings in the dialog that opens. Once Max has had an opportunity to generate the preview, a small viewing window will pop up on the screen. In there, you can see how the material color is changing over time. Once the window's been closed, you can quickly replay the preview by choosing Play Preview. You'll return to that same button on the right, holding down the command and choosing the second button in. If you ever decided to want to save the preview, that too can be done. This time under the button, we'll choose the command on the far right. It's called Save Preview. Once the dialog opens, you can quickly rename the preview. I'll call it Material Preview. So that pretty much does it for creating previews. Now, next time you want to look something over without wanting to wait around for a lengthy preview, now you've got the ideal way to do so.